Hey, what is going on, guys? My name is Coach J, YouTube channel Donkster Born Bob Bill for Theme Park News, and welcome to another Theme Park Newsroom update. And this is from the Alton Towers Resort. Now, this is something that I wanted to talk about for a good week now. And it's just a couple of things that have been popping up around Alton Towers, around that Sub Terra site, which I'll talk about in a slight moment. Which leads me to believe a couple of things, depending on what information you believe. So this is all about believing different bits of information. So let's get on then with what was spotted at these couple of appearances at Alton Towers. So on the cue board, the old cue board for the former Nemesis Sub Terra, which of course, for those of you who don't know, opened in 2012. It was a ABC Dark Rides drop tower in the dark experience. It's like a prequel to the Nemesis story. It sort of expanded the backstory of the Nemesis coaster, of course, the 1994 B&M invert, just adjacent to the ride in Forbidden Valley. This replaced the old lava lump, relocated from Mugland. It was a rock climbing wall, and of course used to be home to Dynamo on that site, which is like a husk breakdown. So didn't really replace anything, you know, massively massive. You know, it wasn't a coaster or anything like that. It was a decent flat ride from what I heard. And of course that ride, Sub Terra, closed in 2015 for the Towers Loving Care, well 2016 technically, for the Towers Loving Care programme. And of course this year, of course, along with Twirling Toadstool, it was announced never to come back. And of course it operated last season as Project 42, a brand new Scarefest scare maze. Now the teasers that we've been spotting over the past couple of weeks at the Alton Towers Resort was on the cue board to Nemesis Sub Terra, and the fact that it read in green LED lights -40, and then the next one read -42. Now some of you may think, oh, -42, it's going to be a teaser for Project 42, this means Project 42 is coming back for Scarefest. But when it was -40, there was official test dummies and lights spotted being on inside the building. So some may say this is still for Project 42, there's some new animatronics or some new dummy test system for it, just to test the screaminess of the maze. But this somehow leads me to believe that it could be something more than that. It could be something completely different to Project 42. Now, of course, back in April, we understood that another company is apparently holding an event inside the Project 42 tent. However, what I do feel personally is that I would have loved to see Sub Terra come back either as a brand new Dark Ride theme, a name, or as something completely different. And not just a Project 42 scare maze at Scarefest, not one of those Scarefest only buildings, which is what Wobble World, the old inflatable bouncy house, became when it was transformed in 2015 to House of Monsters. So it was involved in the Towers Loving Care programme, which officially started in 2016, Nemesis Sub Terra. However, it officially closed in 2015 along with Charlie, Ice Age 4D, Wobble World, Hex, the driving school. Of course, Hex and Driving School reopened as the Cookie Cars Driving School, and of course Hex got its big overhaul. But the other attractions like Wobble World, Ice Age, Charlie, and Sub Terra all closed off. Of course, Ice Age 4D, we don't know what's happening to that. Wobble World, it's still House of Monsters for now. We don't know if that's coming back for Scarefest again this year or not. We'll have to find out when details get announced. And of course, as you all know, Charlie has become the Alton Towers Dungeon, and I can't wait this year, pretty much 2019, to try out the Alton Towers Dungeon. I cannot wait for it. It's going to be brilliant to give you my review of the Alton Towers Dungeon. So Nemesis Sub Terra with these -40 and the -42, of course, the early assumption of teasing Project 42 for this year's Scarefest to come back for a second year. But of course, like I said, with test dummies and the lights being on in the building, it could assume something completely different. Now, I think the main thing we can assume, I think we can only make a best guess if Project 2 doesn't come back for this year's Scarefest. Then we'll pretty much know that something's going on with Sub Terra. Something's going on with that site, something's going on with that building, but they won't tell us why. Whether they'll announce what's happening before or after they release the Scarefest lineup, we don't know. But I think the only prediction or assumption we can make off of these rumoured sightings on the cue board is if Project 42, if that doesn't come back for Scarefest when it gets announced around July, August probably, It usually gets Scarefest, if you don't know already, usually gets announced around July, August for Alton Towers. It's usually sort of mid-July to start of August if we're looking at the earliest and the latest that Scarefest gets announced. So when Scarefest gets announced this summer, if Project 42 isn't involved in that lineup, then we'll assume something's going on. But if Project 42 is in that lineup again this year, like it was debuting last year, then we'll pretty much know that the -40 and the -42 is like, you know, rising below ground level, and it will pretty much assume that Project 42 is going to be coming back for Scarefest if it gets announced, and we'll sort of know that those cue-board teasings that have been going on recently were for the Scare attraction. But like I said, we can only make that assumption if and when the Scarefest lineup is announced for this year, because don't forget, like I said before, if Project 42 isn't in that Scarefest lineup this year, we pretty much know something's going on in Sub Terra's building, maybe even for next year. We don't know. I mean, we could be looking at a kind of like what Theme Park did for their 40th anniversary next year at Alton Towers. We could just be looking at celebrations and some temporary things, which I don't really want to happen. I want to see at least a flat ride, if not a full Cloud Clan re-theme. Loads of people want a dual overhaul into like a Ghostbusters 5D style attraction similar to Sister Merlin Park, Heidi Park Resort in Germany. They want to see that kind of 5D dark ride but with an Alton Towers twist. Maybe Ghostbusters are invading the old haunted house, maybe. I don't know. There's a few different assumptions what people want to go on for 2020, but like I said, whether it's a duel, whether it's Cuckooland, whether it's just general celebrations and shows and parades, of course the 80s live concert, I'd like to see that come back again next year. If that 80s concert does come back and I'm able to go in that sort of weeks that the 80s concert's performing in, I'd love to go and see that 80s concert, because I've been, to be fair, I am a big fan of 80s music, so I would love to hear those 80s artists coming back to the Alton Towers stage and do this live concert to celebrate 40 years of the Alton Towers Resort next year. So there we go then. So that's this video from Nemesis Sub Terra. Like I said, we can only make an assumed prediction on the Scarefest lineup. If Project 42 is in that lineup, then we know the cue board was teasing about the Scare attraction, and Project 42 is coming back. Sub Terra, done, finished, over the hill. However, if Project 42 isn't in that Scarefest lineup, then we'll know that something is going on with Sub Terra. So everything rides on Scarefest, and everything rides on that Scarefest announcement, whether something's happening with Sub Terra or it's just teasing Halloween early. I mean, the Sora Live signage at Theme Park's taken down. I don't think there's going to be a maze in that building, so again, Theme Park will have to look at putting some mazes maybe elsewhere. Of course, with the Loggers Leap site out of bounds now for good, and probably awaiting demolition at some point in the next few months, fingers crossed. Hopefully we'll get something taken down very soon. But I think Alton Towers needs sort of, I think, like I said, everything rides on that Scarefest announcement, whether Project 42 comes back or something really is happening in the Nemesis Sub Terra building or that site. Could we see a building demolished and a new flat ride being built on that site where the building used to be? Are they going to demolish the building and sort of do grand clearance for a new flat ride? Are we going to see 2 new flat rides? Is Ripsaw's site going to start getting boarded up and with posters saying coming soon for 2020? I don't know. We can only predict at this point what's coming for next year because we've got no teasers, nothing. Smiler was planned. It had its very, very early plans for the Smiler back in 2011, so we can pretty much assume it's not going to be a coaster until, you know, 2022, 2023 we can assume. So I don't think it'll be a while. I think it's going to be quite a while before we see Alton Towers' next massive thrill investment, whether it's a coaster or a big attraction of some sort. I don't think we're going to see that for a good couple of years yet. But it gets us hyped. It gets us really, really hyped for the future of this park. Of course, we're about to enter the final, well, this is pretty much the final year of this decade. So I am planning on doing a one-off series because it's Alton Towers and it's one of the most legendary theme parks in the UK, Europe, if not the world, in my opinion. I'm planning on doing a series where I take a look at the last decade of Alton Towers, and each video is for each year and some of the things we've been up to in that year, starting from 2010, running up to 2019. And 2019 will actually, hopefully, if this series gets passed, will actually be out around Christmas time, when the season's done, it's finished, the Christmas events are starting, and nothing's really going to happen. you know, I sort of want to do the 2019 around New Year, so maybe I'll start the series around start of September before uni starts kicking in, so there's less theme park news and more chance to focus on uni work, and also you got this little series in the background. So I'm thinking about doing a series called The Last Decade of Alton Towers, 2010 to 2019, just to celebrate those last 10 years, because the last 10 years have been like a completely new era for Alton Towers Resort in positive and negative ways. But I'll get on to those positive and negative details in that series. So thank you very much for watching this video on Nemesis Sub Terra. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe and click the notification bell so you never miss a YouTube video. As you can see, it's getting very dusk outside, so I'm going to stop filming before you can't see me. My name is Chris, YouTube channel Doncaster born but built for Theme Park News. And I'll see you guys in the next video very, very soon. Take care, have an awesome day, my friends.